Okay, we shall start now. See, in the previous class, we have discussed about this grep command, this pattern matching, all these things. Now we'll start with the real shell programming. See, what is this shell is all about is, it's an interpreter. It's an interpreter where you can execute the command. Not always we execute a single commands at a time. We execute multiple commands. The output of the one command is required for the other command. For that reason, we want us to write the entire program. So, which contains the multiple commands. For that reason, we are going to learn this shell programming. If you learn the shell programming, what we can do is we can do our task with the multiple commands. Everything we are going to write it in a single file and we are going to run. We are going to run the files, that particular file. So we'll see how it is. We know the shell is nothing but it is an intermediate which sits between the users and then the kernel, where we enter all the commands. In the shell, we have seen like this one by one commands we are going to execute and we are going to see the output. But group of commands, in order to execute, we need one place. For that reason, what we do is the group of commands, we are going to write it in a single file and we are going to save that file with some extension and then we are going to run. If you do in that way, what happens is in that file, there will be so many statements that each statement will be loaded into memory and it will be executed. Till now, we used to execute one by one command. Now, group of commands, we are going to write it in a single file, store it in a single file, save it with some extension, and then we are going to execute. Here, we are going to call that file as a script. We are going to call that file as a shell script, which contains group of commands, which runs in this shell program. It is going to run in an interpretive mode. Interpretive mode means it is going to execute the first command, it will give the output, second command, give the output. Wherever the errors are there, it will show that errors, but it is not going to give the output of the next commands. We'll see that with an example. This shell script, whenever you compare to the higher level language means the C language or this Java, whenever you compare with that languages, this shell script runtime, if you compare, this is slower. But the requirement is not the time, it is the commands, the output of that commands. That is the main requirement. That is why we are not going to worry about the execution time. But remember, the shell script runtime, it is slower than the normal higher level languages. Example, C, Java, .NET, all those things. The file extension for this shell script will be .sh. Whether it is mandatory, no. The extension is not mandatory. But the better practice is you have to give this extension. That will be useful whenever you use the grep command for the other commands. Whenever you want to search, if you want to search some files, if you want to search inside a script, then just by seeing the name you can easily identify it is a shell script. If the extension is .sh, it is very clear that it is a shell script. If you don't give the .sh extension, what happens is you have to open that file and you have to see, oh, it contains C program. No, it contains commands, Unix commands, or it contains the normal text. It will avoid opening a file. That is why the file extension is required. The shell script extension is .sh. Whenever you run this program, they are going to be executed by the login shell. I already said there are so many different types of shells are there. C shell, Korn shell, Korn, Bourne shell, B-O-U-R-N-E, Bourne shell, bash shell, B-A-S-H, bash shell. There are different types of shells are there. And also, and you can check which type of shell is been running in your system. It is a bash shell which is running in my system. The shell name is bash. In the same way, corn shell, C shell, Bourne shell, there are so many other types of shells are there. And this shell is going to execute the shell script, and it has a run as a separate child process. It will create a process in the background, a separate child process in the background, and it is not mandatorily, say, it will be executed by the same shell. Say in my Fedora, I show it's a bash shell which is being executed. If other shells are there, if corn shell and C shell are there, even those shell can execute your shell script. If I run now, it will be executed by the bash command. If other shells are there with this bash shell, even you can execute those programs by the other shell also. Shell is nothing but a program. It's a software. Whenever you execute a command, in the background, there will be a small child process is going to run. The next thing is, we'll see one example. See how many lines are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have seen the echo command. You have seen calendar command, date command, echo command, all these things. All these commands I'm going to write in a single file. See, the file name is sampleshell.sh. I have created one new file, and the file name is sample shell. The extension is .sh, which indicates shell script. The next thing, the first line in the shell script, the first line indicates which type of shell it is. This is mandatory. We are going to write this, which type of the shell it is, the path. And always it starts from # exclamatory mark. This should be always the first line. This should be the first line, # exclamatory mark, which tells about the shell. The next line can be anything. Here, what I have written in the second line is some script.sh, sample shell script. The file name sample script, sample shell, file name .sh, the sample. It is just a comment. It is a comment, single line comment. Anything which starts from #, after that it will be ignored by the interpreter. The shell is going to forget this. It is not going to execute this part. It is just a comment. See the difference between the first and this line. Here, which indicates about the shell, it starts with #, but next to it there is an exclamatory mark. Then it will treat it as an address of a shell. But if it starts with a # means the remaining part, it is an comment. It is called as a single line comment, and this will not be executed. What I want to write in this program is, I want to show you throw some message, welcome to shell programming. What is the today's date? What is the today's month? And which is the shell is being executed? That I want to show. And I have written one comment. I assume that the comment is understood, and these comments, wherever you want, you can write. It is not always at the second line, third line, or the last. Wherever you want, you can write the comments. Just if you want to print a message, echo followed by space, within the double quotes, you are going to write a message that you already know. Echo command, it is equal to the printf in the C language or system.out.println in the Java program. Echo followed by, it is going to print as it is. Next, echo, today's date is a message. It is a message. Today's date colon is a message. See, the double quote ends here. But date is a command. If you don't write within this backslash single quote, see, if you have to use the shift and the caret symbol is there, right? Left to the key 1 exclamatory mark, where you can find the exclamatory mark. Left to that, there is one key. That back quote you have to use. Back quote, which is called as back quote. That within the back quote, you have to write the command. Then only it will be treated as an command. If you remove this back quote, it is once again a normal text. If you write this back quote, then it will be treated as a command. Today's date, within the double quotes, I have written one command. Before that is a message. Double quote starting, ending. Wherever you want the command, back quotes, use the back quotes and you write that command in between. Next, one more message. This month's calendar. Any message. Next, command, calendar. See that here comes the back quote. These are the arguments. These are the arguments to the calendar. And since it is a command, it is been written inside the back quotes. And it is another one comment. This month's calendar, which starts with the hash. Last echo, my shell, which is a normal print message. $shell, we already know, which is an inbuilt variable. I have not created that variable. It is an inbuilt variable. That inbuilt variable is going to print which shell it is, which shell is going to execute. This is what the program, we don't call it as a program. This is what the script I have written, shell script. This contains the address of the script, address of the shell, a normal single line comment, one printf message, print message with a command, print message, a command, a comment, and here it is going to print one inbuilt variable. Inbuilt variable. We'll execute now. In order to execute, you have to use this command sh sample shell.sh. sh sample shell.sh. Enter. If you press enter, you will see the output. See the first message, welcome to shell programming. Next, today's date. What is the date? Monday, October 26th. This is the date which has taken from this OS, Fedora OS. 26th, sometime. Next message, this month's calendar. Here the message, this month calendar. Next, you have given the input, the date to the calendar. That is why October month, the entire calendar it is going to print. Then lastly, what type of shell it is? My shell colon. It is an inbuilt variable /bin/bash. /bin/bash. This is the shell. This is an inbuilt variable $shell. That variable content it is going to print echo command. See, there are almost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commands are there. Some 2 comments are there. One address is there. If I want to do all these things is 8 times I have to execute. If I want this output, maximum 6 times I have to execute the commands. The advantage with the shell script is all the commands I have written in a single file and executed at a stretch. I got the output of all the commands. I'm able to print the shell. I'm able to print the calendar, the date, a normal message, all those things. That is the advantage with the shell programming. Whatever you want, you write inside this shell script and run. If the executable permission is not there, you have to give the executable permission for the file. How to give the executable permission for the file? You already know chmod command. Chmod command. That chmod command plus x chmod change the file permission. Plus means assign executable permission to the particular file script.sh. Then execute. Normally, whenever you create, by default executable permission is not, it will be there. If it is not there, you have to give the file executable permission. I repeat once again, the hash character, if you see in any lines, the right to that will be treated as an command. It will be ignored by the shell. But the same hash which is there in the first line, it will not apply. It's an interpreter line. The first line will be an interpreter line, which always begins with an hash exclamatory mark, followed by the path name of the shell that to be used for running the script. Here this sh indicates the Bourne shell. Here we are using, this indicates we are using Bourne shell, but this will be run by the bash shell. If you have any doubts about this shell script, you can ask now. Anyone can raise your hand, or you can send a doubt. Anyone, do you have a doubt? No? What a simple shell program. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can message me later. I'll clear, or you can call me. The next is, in the first sample program, we have not taken the input from the user. The sample program, it is not interactive. The program is not interactive. We have to take the input from the user. For that, what we am going to do is, I'm going to read the input from the user. What I'm doing is, I'm making the script interactive. Interactive means I'll ask the user to enter the input. I'll ask the user to enter the input. The example is here, one read example. Say this. Okay. Here I'm going to execute since I'm using the bash shell, it will be bash shell. Say the first message, enter the pattern to be searched. This is what I want to show the message to the user. Enter the pattern to be searched. I want something to be pattern to be searched inside a file. I want to search the pattern inside the file. We already know to search the file, the command that we are going to use is grep command. In order to search anything inside a file or in any content, we use grep command. For that, we are going to take the input from the user. See next, enter the pattern to be searched. This is a message to the user, colon. The backslash C. The backslash C is whether the input, the user, whether it should go to the new line or whether it should wait there itself. If it wants to go to the new line, /n we are going to include. If you don't want to go to the new line, it should be the same line, means you have to use this \C. Next line is a read of some variable name, p name. Read means it's a input statement like scanf. Scanf in the C program, here it is called as a read. The variable name is p name. Whatever you enter, it will be stored in this variable p name. Whether it is only one name you have to give, in the scanf any number of names you are going to give, right? In the same way you can give read p name, the first name, father name, mother name, any number of variables you can give. Next message, enter the file to be used. Which file you want to search? This is a message. The user has to enter the file name. Then the message to the user, searching for pattern $p name. Since this is a variable, $p name you have to use, this is a variable, from the file $f name, because you have to print the content of that variable. Then grep followed by file name. What is a pattern? What is a file? If anything is there, it is going to print the output. We'll see the output now, how it works. sh read example.sh. Now when I click enter, say it will ask for the user to input. Enter the pattern to be searched. You have to give a proper double quotes, or else see, if you give a proper double quotes, then you will see the color of the text in the editor. That the difference you are going to see. If any mistakes are there, if you don't use the proper double quotes, that difference you are going to find out in the color of that particular text editor. It depends upon the text editor. Now we'll exit. I should go to that particular directory, cd dir oct, then sh. What is the file name? Read example.sh. See now. Enter the pattern to be searched. I want to search one word in the sample shell like echo. I want to search the word echo. Now this echo is stored in the variable p name. This echo, it is stored in the variable p name. Now enter the file to be used. Which file you want to search? That file you have to give the file name. I'll give sample shell.c. Now this echo will be searched inside the sample shell.c. It is not able to find that file. See the output, selected record shown above. This is an echo message. If it gives some output, oh sorry, what is the problem is, Enter the pattern to be searched. Echo, enter the file to be searched. Sample shell dot sh. See, this is the sample.sh, the previous file. Both are in the same directory. That is why it is able to give that. I'm going to search inside this sample.shell echo. I have given the pattern echo inside the file sample shell.sh. It has able to find that. See, the in four lines, echo is there, and it has given those 4 lines. Selected record shown above. In this way, you can make the program interactive, the shell script interactive with the read commands. What is the advantage or with this is, one thing is you are going to make it as interactive, and also here it is not always a single variable name you are going to give. You can give multiple variable names, but whenever see you have given the input command like this, read f name and last name, but whenever you give the input, it is expecting 2 names, but you have given a single name, single input you have given, but it is waiting for 2 inputs. In that case, what it is going to do is, it will be stored in the f name, only f name, the other variable name will be empty. And if you have given 3 names, some problem to one person, he has raised the hand, 124 USN. What is the problem? Any problem? The number of arguments are less, but you have given more inputs. In that case, what it is going to do is, the first variable like this, if you have used like this, you have given a 3 inputs. If you have given the 3 inputs, but the command that you have given is read f name and last name, but you are going to give 3 inputs. In that case, what happens is, first input will store in the first variable, the next 2 it is going to store in the second variable itself. If there is a mismatch in the number of arguments, what happens? That is what I was going to discussing. If it is going to mismatch, if there are less, then it will be empty. If there are more, all the extra values, extra input will be stored in the last variable. Extra inputs will be stored in the last variable. That is a difference. That is what it happens. That is all about the read command, to make the shell script interactive. The next thing is the command line arguments. See, you have heard about this command line argument. You have heard, I think you have about this command line arguments. The command line argument is, whenever you execute the program with the with the execution, whenever you execute the command, there itself you are going to give the input. How is, I'll show with an example, but remember this, what is the significance of this? Here, everything is with a dollar followed by hash. If you use in the shell script, it indicates number of arguments that you have passed in the command line, that will be count the number of arguments, it will be stored in this variable $hash. If you use $0 in the shell script, it will give you the executed command name. If you use the 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5 up to 9, if you use the positional parameters, what is the argument that you have given? In the same way, the the star marker, all the inputs in a single command, if you want to see the output, you have to use $star. If there are quotes in between, if there are quotes in between, that will be treated as a separate arguments, or other else it will be same as this previous one, dollar star. What this dollar question mark, if you use, it will give you the exit status of the last command. You have executed some command, but what is the status if you want to check? You have to use this dollar question mark. If you want the process ID of the current shell, this dollar or dollar exclamatory mark will give you the process ID of the last background job. See, if you just see this table, it is not clear. I'll show an example, then it will be very clear. Say this. The first line, second line will be a comment. The script name is $0. I have used $ash, $star, $1, 2, 3, 4, the $at. See, echo statements, just I have used $0, $1, 2, 3, 4, $at, $star, $hash. Now I'll run, then it will be, the output will be this meaning will be very clear. Now, the how to execute sh command line. Say this. I'm going to execute with the command line arguments. The argument, first argument is hello, hi, how are you? I have given 5 words as an input. Hi, hello, hi, how are you? There are 5 words are there. These are the command line arguments. These are the inputs. If I click enter now, see, the script name is command line argument.sh. See here, $0. $0 will give you this one, the name of the file. The next is the number of arguments count. The number of arguments is 5. Hello, hi, how are you? 5 count. That will be stored in the variable $hash. Which are the word arguments, the inputs you have given, command line arguments? Hello, hi, how are you? 5 words. The arguments are, that will be stored in a single variable $star. Which is the first one? The first argument, $1, hello. Second argument, hi, $2. Next, $3. Next, $4. The arguments, the $at, see, the output, it is same as the $star, because I have not used the quotes in between. That is why the output looks same. This is how it works. The command line arguments. The command line arguments is the positional parameters, $star, $0, $1. In the same way, till $9 you can use. After that, with some special command, you have to use the next numbers, $10, 11, 12, 13. The next is about the exit commands. That exit command we'll discuss in the next class. Please practice these commands. That is a chapter 14, Essential Shell Programming in the textbook, Sumita B. Das. You execute this command and then it will be very clear. Please send your attendance now. Then you can exit.